Hi everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Chelsea, and today I'm going to share one of my mom's very special recipes with you. It's for her homemade chicken and dumplings, and this is for my cousin Linda Robertson over in Georgia. So you're going to learn how to make Mama's chicken and dumplings. So what you'll need to start this is, of course, chicken. I'm taking a little bit of a shortcut. This is rotisserie chicken that I've cleaned off the bone, and I have about 8 cups of chicken broth. You could actually buy a full hen and cook it for, it takes about 2 hours. You want everything, all the meat and everything to fall off the bones, so you'll have to clean all of that. And I've done that hundreds of times, but I wanted to show you this shortcut because trust me, the taste is just as good. So let me show you how to put together the broth. So if you look over here, this is a whole rotisserie chicken. I've got 1 medium onion, got just shy of a cup of celery, and same thing with carrots. Got a little bit of garlic. Also, we're going to do some sea salt, some black pepper, and you can use the seasoning of your choice. I'm actually using, this is Cavender's. Cavender's is great with chicken. When I was opening my new container, the top popped open, and fortunately I had a little glass jar, so I just transferred it. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a teaspoon of this. This is literally a teaspoon. It's crazy. A couple of cracks of pepper. Okay, you're going to do a couple of shakes of sea salt, and you can come back and actually add more. We're going to taste as we go along. We'll go ahead and add the onions. And some of you might say, well, should I saute those beforehand? You can if you want to, but this cooks down for a while, so all of your veggies will soften up. So now I'm going to add the celery. Carrots. I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in there, just for some flavor. And finally, the chicken. Try not to get splashed. All right. So, I'm going to just stir this around. I'm going to raise the temp a little bit because I want to bring it to a good boil. And then we're going to let that simmer for a little while, soften up the vegetables. And while that's happening, I'm going to show you how to make the dumplings. All right, let's learn how to make the dumplings. I think this is the thing that probably scares people the most about this recipe, but it's really simple. You're going to start with 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a teaspoon of salt. And this is a sifter. Gosh, this sifter is probably 70 years old. I inherited it from my mom's kitchen. And so you want to sift your flour down. Just helps it blend better with the butter. Okay, so that part is done. Your flour looks like this, very silky. Move this out of the way for a second. Next, I'm going to teach you a trick that I learned when I went to Ruby Slipper, and it was a cooking class, and I learned how to make their biscuits. And what they do is they take their butter, and it's frozen, and you grate it. So I'm going to hurry up and grate this. And I'm going to start with a stick of butter, course, I buy those blocks of Kerrygold and the grass-fed Costco brand. And so you just kind of estimate what a stick is. So that would be a half a cup of butter. And if you need more, you can get some more. And we're just going to throw this cold butter into the flour. And you're going to get messy, I'll tell you right now, because you're going to use your hands. So take your rings off and get ready. So you can see, I'm going to dump that in. Nice little butter curls, and I'm going to keep on grating this. Almost there. I guess I should have had this done beforehand, sorry, but when you're using frozen butter, you want it to be frozen, so. The other thing you're going to need is some milk. This is a typical recipe from my mom. There's no real measurements except for the flour. She's just like, have a cup of milk. You might not need it. You just kind of have to feel your way through. And I'm glad she taught me to cook like that, because I really do just use my feelings, my taste, my sight, and that's how I learned to cook. I'm almost there. Okay. You can add a couple of cracks of pepper to this if you want to. It's all up to you. I like to add parsley. Let me wipe my hands. Okay. So I'm going to do just probably about a tablespoon of parsley. And start mixing this up dry. So it's really pretty. I like to see the green of the parsley, so if I'm not seeing enough, I'll add some more to it. So because you've grated your butter, it's really easy to incorporate it into the flour. There's some still left in here, so whoops. Oh, no, I'm a messy cook, especially when it comes to flour. Okay. And this is looking good. You want your flour, you want to be able to see that just about every bit of flour has some butter in it. And so this looks great. Okay, I'm getting ready to add the milk. Just step out of the way. Now, when you add the milk, you really are just wanting to make a really sticky dough. That's how Mom described it, and so I just start working it around. And this is just whole milk. You don't need any heavy cream or anything too fancy. And if you've got granddaughters, this is a really fun recipe for them to get involved in, because it is kind of messy and they like that. I grew up standing on a chair, turned around on a chair. The chair was turned around, propped up against my mom's counter, cooking. So it's starting to get sticky, well, not really sticky, but moist. And the more that butter melts, the more it will stick together. And look, if you add too much milk, no worries, just add some more flour. You really can't mess this up. Now it's starting to come together. I'm going to turn this down So the chicken is back there cooking. If you started with a raw hen, you're going to need to cook that for about 2 hours. So just keep that in mind. You won't add the dumplings. You don't add the dumplings till the very end. So that's why I did the shortcut version for you. And honestly, it tastes just as good. If you don't eat dark meat, you can use chicken breast. I mean, you really make recipes your own. Make them work for you and your family. All right, so this is looking really, really good. Add just a little bit more milk. So really, I had about a cup. I'm not going to use the whole thing. But I'm really trying to get a little bit of that flour that's in the bottom of the bowl. Yeah, I'm flinging flour everywhere, so it's okay. Okay, so now it's sticky. It's sticking to my hands, sticking to everything. So you're going to come over to your board. I have this really nice little marble board that I like to do pastas and doughs on. Let me just use the warmth of my hand again to melt the butter a little bit. And then we're going to roll these out. And I'm going to show you the key. And I'm so glad that I thought, enough to get on the phone with my mom pretty often and say, hey, how did you make this? How did you do that? And she would tell me all these recipes from memory. As having 4 kids, she did a lot of cooking, loved to entertain. And so she really had a good catalog. The only one I didn't get, and anybody watching this that has a good red velvet recipe, oh my gosh, my mom made the best red velvet cake. And I used to beg her. She's like, what kind of cake do you want me to make this week? I mean, red velvet. And it was a lot of work. So she only made it a few times a year. But I did not get her recipe. My sister didn't get it. My brother, nobody. So if you've got one, send it my way, please, and I'll give it a try. So this, of course, doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to roll them out pretty thin, unless you like thick dumplings. Some people love really thick dumplings, which some days I do. This is just a truly Southern comfort food. And I'm going to put it out a challenge to my sister Mary to make this, because she's so funny. There's this one restaurant that we'll go to, and this is what she orders, chicken and dumplings. And I'm like, you can make this yourself. Pretty easy. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. So what we'll do, we'll come back in just a second, cut these up. I've got to make sure that the broth is ready for the dumplings. Okay, now we're going to cut up the dumplings. And basically, you just take a knife and use a butter knife. It doesn't matter. And these certainly don't have to be perfect. And you're just going to cut them. And then I'm going to show you Mom's magic trick of how to add them to the broth. Okay, so I have all the dumplings cut, and now we're going to add them to the pot. Here is the key that Mom taught me so long ago. You want to have your broth and your chicken, everything boiling, and you drop your dumplings on top of the bubbles. It's crazy. but that is the key. So I'm just looking for bubbles and then just dropping them all in. And so we'll get all these dumplings in the pot, and I'll stir it around, and then you just shut everything off, take the fire off, put the lid on, and let this sit for a good 20 minutes. And actually, chicken and dumplings are a lot like gumbo. They're always better the next day because the dumplings are going to absorb all that great flavor. And again, just looking for little bubbles to drop these on. It's so funny just talking to Mom. She's like, you have to drop them on bubbles. I don't know if it aerates the dumplings, but she's right. So we'll stir that around. I've got a few more dumplings to add. As you can see, this is going to be a beautiful Southern comfort meal. All right, let's check the dumplings. I think they're done. So, oh, this looks beautiful. Like I said earlier, you just put all the dumplings in, put the lid on your pot, and then turn it off for a good 20 minutes. So I'm going to serve up a little bit so you can see how they look. Get some chicken, couple of dumplings, and that is my mom's chicken and dumpling recipe. So be sure and subscribe to the channel if you like this good Southern cooking. Of course, I'll be doing some more New Orleans things and lots of seafood, but I am going to do some comfort food and some soups in the future. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. And thanks again. See you next time.